Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Daiwa Millionaire 3RM. And this is another one of the reels that I got from Mario. And I've got to get these knocked out. We're getting ready to put the house in order for Christmas. And I've got to try to put my fishing reel room in order before we have all of our guests arrive. So I need to try to get this one done today as well. We're going to take off the handle. Oh, by the way, let's do a functional check on this reel. When I started on it last night, would barely turn. You couldn't hardly do anything with it. If you pushed in the button would stay in. And when you tried to spin it, it wouldn't hardly spin. It would just sit there. And so I spent a little bit of time cleaning it up last night and was somewhat successful. But I didn't go ahead and take it all apart because I wanted to do that on the video. All right, so, but I have freed it up and cleaned it up. I added some oil here, added some oil over here, but I have not done a full cleaning on this. Okay. Well, since Mario stopped by the house tonight, I think it's possible that I could get this video out before the first of the year and not turn myself into a liar. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be taking this apart. You're not going to see me take it apart. I'm going to transition back into my original video. And then when we get to the part where I made a mistake, I'm going to transition in and show you what I did. On this. Okay, so let's take a look at where we're at. It appears that I have a C-clip here that I can't hardly see. Let me clean a little of this dirt off. See if we can't clean this up a little bit to where we can see. All right, how does that look? Oh yeah, now you can clearly see that there's a C-clip there. All right. Although with my naked eye, I can no longer see that. My vision is beginning to really deteriorate. So we'll go ahead though and see if we can't pop this C-clip off. There we go. It's got the C-clip off. I'll set that over there along with the washer that's on there. There we go. There's the washer. We're going to zoom back out now. All right. And we're going to remove this. If you watched my last video, you will see I was missing my 10mm, and I was going through all kinds of gyrations trying to make that work. Well, I located my 10mm now, and I did that on the cleanup in between. There we go. And then we'll take off this tensioner, which is dirty, but not so bad once you clean it up. And I had to give this a good look because I was afraid that I had a crack in it right here, but it's not cracked. Okay, so that's got that. Now let's take a look at our star washer, our star drag. Unscrew that. And let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty nice too. Okay, we'll set that over to the side. And now we are ready to remove these 3 screws. All right, now we remove the side plate. That gives us the opportunity now what you're going to find is if you try to remove this strictly like this, it's going to be difficult. You can pull it out, and I'll show you. You can do that. All right. And we'll pull out. But what you're having to do is you're having to pull this bushing right here out of this housing, which is difficult to do. So be careful. it will push right back in again. I'm going to show you from the other side how we can take that apart a different way. All right. So let's go ahead now and disassemble the other side. All right. Now, normally, if you're just doing a regular service, you probably don't want to have to take this off, but I'm going to show you how to take it off just in case you needed to. There we go. And again, we have a C-clip. And what you would do with that is hold it on one side and push it free from the other side, which isn't always easy. Sometimes you may need a second screwdriver to hold the other side in place. But if you're going to do that, make sure to put your thumb or finger or something over top of it to keep it from shooting off when you pop it loose. All right, okay. There's your C-clip right there. I'll remove that. And is there a washer on there? No, there's not. Okay, so now you can just take this off and you'll be able to clean it out good. Okay, we've cleaned all the old grease off the other side. Now this is one of those, these plastic gears get damaged, and what happens is somebody, they will get this snagged on the bottom. They'll get this snagged on the bottom or on against something, whether it be an old car sitting on the bottom or whatever. They'll get it snagged and they'll start pulling. And they'll try grinding gears and all kinds of stuff, pulling. And what it'll do is it's going to cause this to strip these plastic gears in here. I'm going to clean this up real quick. All right, and once you've got it all nice and clean, you can examine all the gear teeth and make sure that you don't have any that are distorted, flattened, or trashed. We don't, so I'm going to set that over to the side, and I'm going to wipe out this side case, make sure that there's not any shims installed here, and there are not. And I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. And once we know that we've got that nice and clean, we'll set it over to the side as well. Now, if you look right here, you'll find another C-clip. Okay, and if we take that C-clip off, that's the one that is holding this gear on. And this one's a little harder. But make sure that you back it up with something. There we go. We've got it off. I'll set that one over to the side. And now we can take this gear off. And with that gear off, oh, and also notice on this gear, there's a cutout on this side. And that cutout fits against this notch on the spool right here, locking it to it. Okay. Set that over to the side. At this point, now, the spool will come right off. And there is our, there's our brakes right inside. I'll set that over to the side. All this is getting nice and clean. And now we have a housing, which is almost done, except that we haven't done our worm gear. So now let's do the worm gear. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and rotate it over to where it's over here to the side. That makes it easy access for a screwdriver. We'll put our screwdriver on it and we'll break that loose and unscrew it. I'm sorry, you didn't get to see that. Although all we did is put a screwdriver on this and broke it loose. Okay, we're going to remove that now. That pawl cap, we're going to remove that, and we're going to come in with a pair of, we're going to use hemostats. You can use needle nose pliers. And we're going to remove the pawl. And I want you to look at how dirty this pawl is. Okay, paw's that dirty, it's not gonna be too long before it starts hanging up in the worm gear. So set that over to the side, and now we have that out. The carrier will slide easily now. And what we're going to do, nothing can come off of this side. What we're going to do is we're going to come to this side, and again we have a C-clip. And we will take, and again, we're going to pop that C-clip off. And there it is. With that off, we should be able to pull the worm gear out. And this should be bright, shiny, and clean. And it's not. But it will be when we get done. Next, this will slide out the other side, and that'll allow us to remove this carrier. Okay, slide straight out. And now we can remove the carrier. Note, when the carrier was in, it has to be installed in a hook fashion, like so, and then brought up and put that through. We'll do that again when we reassemble this. Okay, that's got all of this part done. I'm going to scrub these parts up, and we're going to put them back together, and then we're going to tackle this side. So let's get this cleaned up first. I just wanted you to see what happens when you grease these things. And that grease will build up inside there, and it will clog this apart and keep the worm gear from being able to function properly. So I do not recommend greasing worm gears. So I'm going to finish cleaning this up, but I wanted you to see what it was like in there. Now it's time to reinstall the pawl. What we're going to start off with is the carrier, or worm gear, sorry, not pawl, but the worm gear. We're going to take this worm gear, and we're going to take this hook right here, and we're going to drop it in right here, right onto that bar so it's swinging like so. Next, we're going to take the worm gear sleeve, and see this white plastic piece right here? Well, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the large tab sticking on that is facing towards this hole. Okay, if it's the other way, it's going to be put in backwards. So make sure that's facing the hole, and then bring this around and slide it into the case about halfway. And now you can take your carrier, lift it up, and get it to slide in to, get the sleeve to slide into the carrier. You can go ahead and bring it over. And now you've got to get this side over here to drop into the hole. Don't go too far with it because it'll just fall all the way through if you let it. Okay, then make sure this white tab over here is in the tab, in the hole. Like it currently isn't. There. Hold your finger on that to hold that in place. And now it's time to drop in the worm gear. Let's drop the worm gear in. Wiggle it around, get it in the hole. There you go. And it should drop in like that. Once that's done, what we're going to do, we're going to take my screwdriver here, lay it on the side of this, and hold it under there until I get that flat against the table. And that'll hold all that together while I come back and install this E-clip. Okay, we're going to put the E-clip over here so that it's on the wide side of this tab so that your screwdriver isn't catching on the edge. Okay, we're going to push down slightly on the bar and then make sure that this is going in. There we go, like so. And then snap it into place. Easier said than done. There, like so. Once that E-clip is on there, all of this will stay in place and it can't fall out on you anymore. Okay? Stand it up like this, and we're going to take and install the pawl into the hole. I'm going to take the blade, see that blade on there? Let's bring this into focus. Okay, see that blade? We want that blade to be facing front and back, like so. Slide it in. Wiggle it around a little bit. You may need to move the carrier a little bit to get it to drop in. Once you get it to drop in, it should start to travel. Okay, now it's not all the way in because otherwise it would keep going. There we go. Now we've got it in. But if we just keep turning it without our finger on top of it, it's just going to pop up. So now it's time to put the pawl cap back on. Screw that in. And go ahead and rotate this around a little more. Let's see. Tighten it down. You just keep working at it back and forth until you make sure that you've got it where it will. Don't tighten it all the way down until you know that you've got this to where it can go all the way across both directions. All right, once you've got that, then go ahead and just gently snug it. And there is the worm gear reinstalled. We're going to take our spool now, and I believe we got oil on these. They should not have oil on them. So we're going to take these off and clean this a little bit. The spool and the brakes have now been cleaned with alcohol. We're going to slide them on. And they should free float on there nice and easy. See? Now, with that in place, we're going to take and slide the spool back inside this case. Make sure that those are in place. And then we're going to set this gear back in place where it drops down on there. And that just leaves us this little clip to put back on. Like so. That locks it in place. Now it can come out. Don't get me wrong. Okay, the spool can come out if you pull hard enough. You can pull bushing and all out. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to leave it in there like that. And now we can come back. Okay, so let's put oil on this post. We'll set this back down on there. Spin it around a little bit. And now we're ready for one more clip to go back on. Now you would almost think looking at this that it's going to go up here on this shoulder up here, but it's not. It's going to go all the way down onto the other shoulder. There we go. Then we can go ahead and set this side back in place like so. And then align this so that the gears all align. And the holes align. one started. Try to zoom out a little bit. Two started. Three started. All right. Now, the one thing we haven't done is we haven't oiled this worm gear yet and the pawl. Now we'll set that over to the side. And we will move on to this side case. Okay. Looks like the first thing we need to do is remove these two screws. And this case should come off. At least I'm believing it is. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Okay, this one's using a plastic sleeve on this side as a bushing. And this side there, it was a little reluctant to come off, but we got it. All right, got the case cleaned up on that side. Let's come back over here, and yes, this one has the same type of anti-reverse as the Ambassador 5500 had. All right, here's what we have on this side. We have a sleeve and a shim washer and a tension washer. I believe there's another tension washer under that, and there he is. Okay, so two tension washers, and then another sleeve, another washer under that. Then we should hopefully be able to lift this off. There we go. And there's usually a washer right here. Let's see if we have a washer here. Yes, there it is. Do not lose that copper washer. It is critical to the operation of the reel. If that little copper washer, as thin as that little thing is not on there, it will make everything in this drag. Okay. Now we have a keyed washer. We have a hard fabric washer. It appears on this other side of it. I swear, oh, there it is. There's the hard plastic washer. There we go. All right. And this one here is just formed into the gear. All right, over here, what are we going to have? We're going to have a fabric washer and an eared washer, another fabric washer, and a keyed washer, and one more fabric washer. Okay. And we'll scrub that gear up. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to remove these two yoke springs so that we don't lose them. And now we're going to remove the yoke. It should pull straight up. And at that point, you can take the pinion off the yoke if you wish. Got some grease clotted up in here. And then we have the anti-reverse down here. And this one is really flared out. Let's see if you can see it. Okay, that is flared out really wide, which is going to make it difficult to work on see how there's play? So we're going to have to tighten that up a little bit to get that to work properly. All right, the rest of this can all stay right where it is and just be cleaned in place. And what I'm going to do to clean this in place, I'm going to spray it down with WD-40. And then I'm going to come through and scrub it with my straight bristle brush to get all this caked in grease out and broken loose. And once I've done that, I will exercise by operating these parts in and out, and I'll clean under them as best I can everywhere. Now sometimes you get spots like right here. No, those are formed into it. Okay, so that's not grease buildup. Okay, but this over here is. Okay, so just, if you have to actually scrape some of the grease, do so. But what we're going to do is get all this excess grease cleaned off of here. And get this back to operating the way that it should. The straight bristle brush tends to work better getting around things, but toothbrushes help a lot too. Now I see that I've got grease caked in down here, so I'll scrape that out. All right, and then we're going to push this in like so. That locks it in place. Now see these under here? We want to get all that mess out of there. Look at that. Okay. I'm going to get in underneath those and try to get all that old grease out, because that will cause it to stick, bind, and do all kinds of things it ain't supposed to do. We're going to cheat a little bit there and shove this brush up underneath it. See if we can't move some of that grease out of there. There we go. This is where the straight bristle brush really comes in handy. Because you can slide it right up underneath things. Okay, I'm going to flip it over on the other side. Scrub that a little bit. All right, this has all been cleaned up nice and neat now. What I'm going to do is, there are a few places, very few places on this that I believe should have grease. One of them is going to be right here on these ramps, where that ramp rides up and pushes the yoke up. So I believe that's going to need grease. It's not going to hurt to have a little bit of grease here and a little bit right here. The rest of this is getting oiled. Okay, we're going to put oil behind it here and oil behind it here, and on the back side of the push button. Now we're going to set that down and put this little thin brass washer I told you a while ago goes on here. There we go. Now remember what I told you about this little guy, how it was flared out too much. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take and bend these tabs in just a little bit. First one side, then the other. If you try to just grab them both and squeeze them both at the same time, it doesn't really move them over. They have to have enough room to be able to move them over. All right, there we go. Got that one over. And we'll take this then and slide it over the cog like that. That's for your anti-reverse. And as it rotates, when it goes this way, that lifts that out away from it. And when it goes in, then it grabs hold and pushes it in and pushes it and locks it in the bar. This post right here is going to, keep that from popping out. Now, what this also needs is some grease on this post. If you wish to oil it instead, that's fine. That's one of the oil points for the reel. You can oil it through the end of this shaft. Let me make sure that I ran something through this, and I did. I just want to make sure it was clean. Okay, slide this down, and we're going to get our anti-reverse onto this post right here, like that. And then slide this on down. There we go. Now, what should happen is when we push this button, when we rotate this shaft, see how that moves that one up, and that's going to move the other one up. Boom, and it triggers it. Okay, let's do it again where you can see it for sure. There it comes in the button. Now when you rotate it, click, click, there, and it releases it. There we go, just like that. Okay, the next step, piece that we're going to put in is going to be the main gear. Let's go ahead and set it in place. Let's grease it first. All right, we're going to set the gear down on here now. It goes all the way down. Next to go on, and these are in order. All right, we're going to set the gear down on here now. It goes all the way down. Next to go on, and these are in order. Okay, it's on this part of the video right here where I had made a mistake, and I'm going to pull this back apart and show you what I did. Okay, if you look right here, okay, this is metal. This is metal. There should be a washer in here, and it's not there. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. See there? It's not there. And what I'm afraid happened, I think when I put this thing together, there was a washer stuck to one of these other washers, and I didn't realize it was there. Either that or I'm missing one. Oh, there it is right there. No, that's not it. Okay, there's a bell washer. There's that one. There's that one. Okay. Okay, there's a washer. All right, this washer here, this hard washer, actually goes on the bottom down here. But where is the missing washer from up here? Okay, it's not here. So it appears that I was missing one to begin with. But at least I caught it. All right, so let's see about finding one to put in there. All right, in my stack of washers and such, I did have this nice hard washer. That's the one we're gonna need. Okay, so let's get back to putting this back in the proper order. I'm gonna zoom out. I think that was part of my problem last time, is I didn't have everything laid out in accordance with the way it belonged. And that caused significant problems. Okay. And goes the hard washer, then goes the gear, like so. Then goes this washer, the keyed washer, this leather washer, this eared washer, this leather washer, and this keyed washer. Okay, somehow or another, we were missing this washer. I thought it was one of these that was missing, but it's actually this one. And I know I took it out, so I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, we're going to go ahead on the reassembly now. Okay, we're going to start off with this little gold or copper washer. You do not want that to be missing out of here. That gives you your proper spacing for the back of this. Okay, next is going to go your clicker cob, and see these two posts here? Those ride on these two arms down here, and they're what activate and deactivate your spool release. Okay, so we're going to set this back into place now that that copper washer's on there. Slide that down. At the same time, we're going to come back and put our anti-reverse on. Put it on the correct direction, which is this direction, like so. Okay, slide it on. It's now got the washer stuck to the bottom, so make sure it's there. And the problem with doing it this way is I have seen it where people go to line it up, and I think what they do is they bump it and it falls off and doesn't go where it's supposed to be. So the smart thing to do to make sure it's in the right place is to go ahead and put it on the post first. That way you know it's going where it belongs. Okay, then slide this down. Pull this back out. There we go. Slide it down. Now your anti-reverse is in there and it's fully functional. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Next is going to go this missing hard washer. Okay, we're going to put the missing hard washer on. Slide it all the way down, like so. Then goes the gear. And the gear's got to mesh with the pinion gear over here. All right. Next is going to go this fabric washer. Then the keyed washer. Then the leather washer, or fabric washer. This appears to be leather. Then comes the eared washer. It's got these two little ears, and the little tabs, if you look at them, are pointing up. And they have to go into these slots on the gear. Right there, like so. Then comes the other one. These have all been lubricated. That's why I'm not going back and re-greasing them all. And then goes your bell washer. Make sure the raised portion goes up. Put that back in place. All right. Next is going to come this flat washer. Then is going to come these two nested tension washers. They go together like so. Then the last of your solid round washers. And right there. And I'm going to stop at this point, and from then on, you're going back to the original video, and everything will be fine. So, okay. The next thing to go on is going to be this pinion gear. So let's go ahead and grease it. Okay, now this cutout side here is going to have to fit to where this cutout fits onto that flat spot on the spool. So we've got to install that down with that facing downward. There we go. We're going to set the pinion into the yoke like so. Now the yoke's got two ramps on it. See those two angled ramps right there? Okay, they fit up against these two ramps that we greased earlier. So let's set this yoke back in. Like so. And that gear should mesh. And now the only thing left over here is to come back and put these two springs back on. Once they're on, we're going to set this back in place. Set it down. Everything should line up. There we go. And we're going to put these 2 screws back in. Now your first thought is going to be to tighten these all the way down, but we don't want to do that. We're going to leave them just slightly loose for a minute. Like so. That way when we set this back into place, we'll be able to shift those 2 plates so that everything lines up. All right, let's set this back in. Your button's going to go to the rear back here. Looks like I forgot to clean the end of it just a little bit. Okay, set that in place and see if you can get the screw started. Okay, work your way around them a little bit. Okay, make sure that we're clear there. Let's go ahead and take a moment, see if we can clean whatever's on the end of that button off. There, that looks much better. Tighten this down. There we go. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put a drop of oil on the end of the spool shaft here. And then we're going to put a little bit inside the end cap with the bushing. And then we're going to slide that over and go ahead and screw it down. Okay, you don't want to over tighten it. All right, looking good so far. We're going to come back now. We're going to reinstall. We're going to reinstall the star drag. Like so. We're going to put the tensioner back in place. And that tensioner's not having any impact, so let's adjust it just a little bit. And you can do that any number of ways. Pliers, wrench. Just bend it down just slightly. There we go. Now when we set that on there, and it goes all the way down, it's impacting and actually hitting on the star adjuster. Set your handle back in place. Now if you start to put one of these nuts on, or the star adjuster, and it doesn't feel like it's going on very far, it probably isn't on there right. Just turn it sideways, you can usually see how crooked it is. All right, let's go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, we've got a point facing that, so that should be okay. All right, let's put our clip back on. And washer. We got our E-clip right here and our washer. Set the washer on first. And then our clip. And the clip is trying to drop down in the hole. Okay. We do not want to lose this guy. Okay, we've got it in place. There, clipped on. Put the cap back on. is that just screw in your cap. And let's tighten the screw back down. Okay, drag's still loose. Let's tighten it down. That's pretty good. Let's tighten it down some more. Now it's really snug. Hit the button. Let's loosen it just a little. All right. All right, there it is, all nice and complete. Mario, thank you for being a good sport and bringing the reel back by. Not sure how that happened without me catching it, but it did. And for any of you out there who might think I know what I'm doing all the time and I'm always perfect, nope, not going to happen, folks. That's not who I am, and it's not what I am. There we are, repaired, properly installed. Set up. Let's check our drag. Okay, right now it's not tight. It's getting tighter. Oh yeah, got plenty of drag. There we go. That reel's done. And for those of you who like what you saw here today, please hit the like button. If you didn't like what you saw, go ahead and hit the dislike button. I'd appreciate it if you'd go and tell me what you didn't like. And if you'd like to see further videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, wishing you a happy new year.